Tonight we're looking at rear-end collisions. Most happen at only 10 or 20 miles an hour. They might not damage your car, but they can give you a serious neck injury. Miss Whiplash is a cruel mistress, dishing out misery to 200,000 people a year. This real-life German volunteer demonstrates how horrific even a 10-mile-an-hour crash can be. For a split second, forces on the neck reach 10 G.
What happens during a whiplash-type crash is your body goes forward during the crash, but your head, due to inertia, lags behind. This creates damage, in mild cases, to the tendons and muscles of the neck, but in serious cases can involve damage to nerve endings of the spinal cord.
Still not graphic enough for you? Well, just imagine that the forces involved in that 10-mile-an-hour tap are equivalent to being smashed in the face by Mike Tyson. In the absence of regulations to protect us, it's the insurance companies who are scratching their heads to save our necks, hoping to reduce the rising claims for whiplash injuries, which currently stand at £1.7 billion a year. At their research centre in Thatcham, they've built a sophisticated rig to replicate real-life crashes and a special dummy to sit on it. They use BioRid, who is worth £80,000 and has his own version of one of the most elegant yet delicate constructions in the world, the human spinal column.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
BioRid has helped show the importance of seat design in the fight against whiplash. After over 300 tests, big differences are emerging between good seats and bad ones. Surprisingly, and you're not going to believe this, one of the worst performers is the Mark IV Golf. The problems with the Golf start with the fact that it hasn't got a lockable head restraint. So even if you are one of the few people who adjust them correctly, it's too easily pushed back in again. And then it's a long way too far behind your head and too far below your head. So in that rear impact, your skull just twists back over the top of it. Most Volkswagen Group cars like Audis and Skodas share a similar seat design and are relatively poor whiplash performers. But the company is aware of the problem, and the next generation of cars like this Touran are better. If you thought a Land Rover Freelander would be good, you'd be wrong. While Citroën have improved the design of their C3 seats after they've been through the Thatcham tests, and they now score well. A good news story is the Vauxhall Vectra. Not only does it have a lockable head restraint, it's also got an active head restraint. So when you're hit from behind, the weight of your body coming backwards bends levers, which pushes the top of the seat both forwards and upwards. The result is that body and head move forward together in the crash. The best seats of all, though, come from Sweden. Volvo seats have an energy absorber so that the body doesn't jerk forwards, leaving the head behind. It works so well that it's halved injury claims. But top of the league is the Saab 9-3. Not only does it have the same active head restraint as the Vectra, but it's got a slightly higher seat back, which moves the head restraint nearer your head, meaning that in the accident, the dummy, and therefore you, hardly move at all. Just what the doctor ordered. Thatcham's latest league table of seats, based on static measurements alone, will be on their website next week, while they'll be publishing the results of their moving sled tests early next year. But if you've been shocked by what happens in a low-speed shunt, join us in a moment when we put our foot down and stage a 70-mile-an-hour pile-up. We're looking at rear-end impacts. We've seen how minor shunts like these cause the kind of neck-snapping action like this. But now it's time to investigate crashes at higher speeds. And the worst-case scenario, the one every driver must fear, is the motorway pileup. But why do they happen in the first place? There are 3 reasons.
Small nose-to-tail bumps are caused by dopey driving. Things go wrong when a dopey driver brakes too late. The result is a concertina crash, an everyday occurrence on our roads. Pileups are also caused by people travelling too close to big vehicles, get stuck behind a van or a 4x4, and your ability to see into the future is restricted.
If you stay this close, you're likely to end up with a spas all over your face.
Take the rain scenario. It happened earlier this year on the M6. A sudden hailstorm resulted in 2 pileups and 60 smashed cars. But the real headline grabbers are the pileups that happen not in rain, but in fog.
As the dawn fog began to lift this morning, it revealed a...
The most horrific example of recent years was this one on the M42 on March the 10th, 1997. 160 smashed vehicles, 20 serious injuries and 3 deaths. Eyewitnesses likened the scene to a battle zone.
The fog that caused it was the worst sort. Radiation fog. It forms during the night, and the dangerous thing about it is that it builds up in banks and patches, so that one minute you've got 400 metres visibility, and the next, just 10.
The M42 pileup started with a single minor bump. Traffic started to stack up, and eventually the back of the queue reached a patch of dense fog where visibility was down to just 10 metres. The speed restriction signs were flashing, but many drivers chose to ignore them.
Some wisely slowed down, but others didn't, and those following just the taillights of the car in front of them reacted too late. The result, 90 crashed cars in one carriageway.
It didn't stop there. A mixture of smoke aggravated the fog, and rubbernecking caused another 70 to crash on the other carriageway, and fires were so fierce that the road melted. Shocking stuff, yet experts say some of us treat driving in fog like a computer game, a macabre test of skill.
I was driving at a reasonable speed with all my blue lights and hazard warnings showing. I was pretty horrified to find that even in those conditions there were vehicles overtaking me at speeds of up to 70 miles an hour.
The outcome? 20 serious injuries and 3 deaths. And the Court of Law didn't just blame it on the weatherman. 28 drivers were prosecuted for careless driving. 1 went to prison.
The aftermath of a pileup is truly shocking, but the bit we don't normally witness, the actual process of how a routine 70-mile-an-hour drive can turn into carnage, is even more sobering, which is why we've decided to recreate exactly what happens.
We've got 18 stationary cars parked as if they'd come to a halt on the motorway. Hidden in a bank of fog, if you arrived on the scene still doing 70 miles an hour, you wouldn't even have time to brake before you hit them.
We'll be using this Metro to drive into the cars at 70. It's been converted to run remotely by James Brighton and his team. They control the steering, the throttle and the brakes. Capturing the destruction will be an array of high-speed cameras. With final preparations made, we waited for the impact.
After just one high-speed impact, there's undoubtedly already loss of life. And it wouldn't end there. Along would come another driver doing 70, about to enter that wall of fog with just 10 metres visibility and no time to brake. This is the result of just 2 people driving too quickly for the conditions, ignoring the warning signs. On a busy motorway, their cars would likely be followed by another and another and another. The first lunatic in this Metro sort of hit that Fiat Uno only on the one side, which spun him round to the side of the door, went into this Cavalier. Amazing the footwell hasn't caved in on them, but obviously this door impact, the twisting at 70 miles an hour would probably have killed the driver, if not a passenger as well. But it's the Fiat Uno that just makes your heart go queasy, because hit first by that Metro, which stoved in the rear end, the Mercedes then came ploughing into the same accident. And this, believe it or not, is the rear wheel and the front wheel of that Fiat. As a family man, the damage to this family car is truly sickening. Again, the story you always hear, the guy in the big car gets away with it, and the The fact this big Mercedes hit the rear quarter of the Escort over that launched up in the air, that took some of the energy out of the impact, and incredibly inside, there's virtually no deformation at all. You can believe with modern airbags, seatbelts, that all the occupants in that Mercedes could have survived. But again, you look at the smaller car that it hit, the Escort. One impact has just cleaned the right-hand side of the car away, snapped the wheels off. Surprisingly, the impact didn't go that far through the pack, and it really is that first row that gets squashed. It's just luck of the draw, I guess. If you're on the back of the pack, you're the one that gets hit.
A 30-mile-an-hour warning sign doesn't mean knock your speed down to 70 and stop texting your mate. No matter how unrealistically slow it may seem, when there's fog about, slashing your speed is the only way to avoid these frightening sculptures. So next time you see a warning, remember this.